Got a MAME trackball or a trackball in your unit that isn't really spinning all that quick? We're going to talk about that in today's video, and I'm going to show you guys how to speed it up and break in that trackball a little bit quicker and give it a longer, smoother roll. We're going to be using a HAP trackball. You guys know I love HAP trackballs. I stand by them. I play a lot of Golden Tee, but they are also in a lot of your MAME cabinets out there and a lot of your arcade builds. So if you guys want to speed up that break-in, or you just want to have a better, slicker trackball, we're going to break this down. I'm going to show you guys what to do, and I'm going to show you what to buy and how to soak the bearings, all that good stuff. Let's break this bad boy down and let's lose.
Let's f***ing lose.
Okay, so we have the hood opened up. This is actually the play field. We have a little locking prop arm mech there. And we got 3 out of the 4 screws taken out of our trackball. The newer units do come with this. It's like a drip tray in case someone spills a beer or something. Although I don't understand why there's a hole in the bottom corner of it. But either way, I guess it's a good intention. We're gonna take this bad boy out. Clips out on one clip over here. We just gotta take the ground bolt off there, and then we're gonna take it apart. Okay, gang, we got that ground cable taken off for the trackball. I did leave the other one on and kind of snug that nut on there just to keep things in their place. And then all we have over here is one other clip that we disconnect. Now we can take this last bolt out and we can pull the trackball out and have a look-see. She is in all of her glory. So just like I said, take that clip, undo the ground, we're good. And you can see this cover just sits right over it like so. I don't know, maybe I'll leave it off when I put it back on, I'm not sure. But here we go. Here is our brand new HAP trackball. Gonna do a little cleaning there. And mainly what I'm concerned about is getting rid of some of this copper tape on the inside from the factory. It can be over lubed. No, Larson. And we have to pull off some of this copper tape on the inside so it doesn't get bunched up around the bearing. We'll open it up and inspect it, see what we're talking about here. So we do have 6 little screws that come out. 2 right here, another one on each side, and then 2 more in the back. And that's all we need to split it open. So once you release the Kraken, you can go ahead and just open the lid, and here we are. Look at that beautiful bastard. All right. I would advise giving this a good wipe down with some Windex. I usually do that when the ball is on the playfield as well. But get that set out of the way for now. And you can see we got your rollers. And something's already hanging there. Oh, that's because I have the little optic board. So you can see we got that copper tape down in there. Goes down behind the bearing in there. And over time, it can bunch up. Now this has all been documented before. This is actually more so I can show you what I do to clean the bearing and what I use to actually lube the bearing and speed it up. Okay, so you can see there already is a fair amount of junk and crap coming out of the trackball. And again, this is a pretty much brand new trackball. You're gonna take the bearings off the end of each one of your roller bars there. They just slide right off. The other ones, you have to take a little hex head or a flat head and take this little optic wheel off. This one I've already done. You can see I just kind of threaded it back in there. It's loose. Important thing is getting the bearings off so that we can soak them, and then we are going to re-lube them. Get this all cleaned out. Get a towel or something that's not gonna leave a residue. Wipe it all out of there. I mean, it picks up dog hair, cat hair, lint, all sorts of shit real fast. So just do yourself a favor, clean it out, hit this with some Windex. Next thing you guys are gonna wanna do, take your bearings, get a little container. It doesn't really matter what it is, as long as you can seal it up, give it a good shake and let it sit. That's what you wanna use here. We're gonna take some rubbing alcohol. We're gonna soak the bearings in rubbing alcohol and kind of try to cut some of the stuff that's already been gunked up in there. Even though they're relatively new, I'm still gravitating towards a different lubricant. So you don't wanna strip it totally dry. This will just give it a good clean. I come from the skateboarding days. I grew up skateboarding. We used to soak our bearings in gas. Not really recommended these days. So let's just roll with the alcohol. I'll probably catch some hate for this, but this is a tried and true method. So just roll with it. No pun intended. Okay, so got all of our bearings down in there. We're gonna take the rubbing alcohol. We're gonna give it, at least submerge them. It doesn't need to be filled to the brim, but there we go, that should do. So now we have all of our bearings submerged in alcohol. We're gonna let that sit for a good half an hour, shake it a few times, give it a good 30 minutes. No Larson. Okay, moving right along. So pop the lid open on this guy, strain the alcohol out of it, and we got our bearings laid out on some paper towel. I want to damp them up, get them real dry, let them dry before we move on to the next step. But that is post soak. Another step you might want to try considering, throw them on like a Phillips screwdriver and just hit them one by one with an air chuck on your compressor. Blow all moisture out, get it good and dry. I'm going to do those one by one here. Lord knows I never set up a tripod, so I'm going to try and show you guys how I do this one-handed. All right, let's give it a good We are good and dry. Everything's sitting out. I've blown everything off with the air compressor. And the next thing you want to do is get the special sauce. This is called Speed Cream. This is made for skateboard bearings. This is highly rated. You can grab a box of this, or a bottle I should say, on Amazon, around $8 or $10. I will drop the link in my description. This is awesome for any bearing that you are looking for speed. And I think it has some instructions on it. Yep, good enough. Okay, perfect. Speed Cream. We're gonna apply it right now. It's definitely important to note that it is not a cream. This is an oil. So I don't know, it's just kind of a name. So we're gonna go ahead and put 2 drops on each bearing. I may do 3, but let's start with 2 and we'll get ready to button this thing back up. All right, so we're gonna do a little test drop here. All right, so you can see it is an oil. Let's go ahead and put a couple drops on contestant number 1. There's 1. You know, I think I'm gonna do 1 on each side. Let's go ahead and flip it. Yeah, you can see it kind of just absorbs its way around. We're gonna go ahead and let it sit for a little bit. And I'm gonna do the rest of these guys and we'll give it a little speed test. So before we button everything back up and after you have applied your Speed Cream, we're gonna do a second alcohol soap. There is a method to my madness. You're gonna notice that once you put any sort of lubricant on, it's almost gonna feel like the bearing is slower again after your first alcohol soak. And that's because you're gonna let it all seat in there and get inside those bearings. Now, alcohol is not going to strip all of the lubricant out of your bearings. A soak is basically gonna get all of the boogery stuff off the outside, any sort of adhesive or, goop, anything of that sort. And it's going to leave the amount that you want inside the bearing, but we're gonna do a second soak. Give it a shake. Just trust me on this, guys. I will show you the end result in a moment and it will blow your mind. And while you're waiting, grab a towel that's not gonna leave a bunch of lint everywhere and hit your ball with some Windex. In this case, glass cleaner. Doesn't really matter, something that's got a little bit of ammonia in it. Douse that bad boy, give it a good wipe down, get all that disgusting finger residue off of it, clean it up, and then we'll put everything back together. Guys, here we go. Done, soaked, and also took the air chuck on my compressor and I went ahead and blew everything out, and this is the test. So I'm sure you were on the fence about soaking them again, but here is the result. Listen close. Listen to that goodness. We can do a countdown if you want. I might have to time lapse it because this is what you want a bearing to sound like. Now keep in mind, these are brand new bearings. I've probably only played maybe, I think there's 75 to 100 games. Look at that, still going. Okay, so after our second alcohol soak, we have one last ingredient. Get yourself a bottle of this at Walmart or whatever. This is sewing machine oil, and the reason I really like this, not only because it's recommended in a lot of the golden tea groups, but also it's really thin. I don't like a big, goopy type of oil on there to gum it up. They're not gonna, you gotta play a bunch of games to get that out of there. One drop on each bearing, let it sit, and then you are good to go to button this bitch back up. Like so. It's got a like straw thing you can pull out from the end of it, but no, I'm not Alexa. Back in the lab, we're gonna go ahead and put this bad boy back together. I actually really like the way that they're doing the copper on these new trackballs. There used to be a big flap that hung down in here. It looks like it's cut to precisely just sit under the outside of the bearing, so it shouldn't interfere. So I'm gonna leave it alone for now. If it ever causes a future problem, I can make an adjustment. But we're gonna go ahead and put the bearings back on our rollers. And we start by putting the little optic wheel and threading that back in the top. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and put this one back together. We already got one in the back. And then we'll give it a little roller test, and I'll show you guys what the bearings are doing now that we have it almost put back together. Okay, rollers are back in. Everything is pretty close here. Just want to give you guys a little example of what this is going to do to your bearings. So it might sound a little loud-ish, but again, everything's loose. We haven't tightened everything up, but here's an example of what we get now. I'll be damned if that ain't spinning like something that you've played 1,000 or more games on, but we'll do the same over here. We want to keep this optic board out of the way so it doesn't stop the wheel from spinning. So I'm trying to do everything with one hand, but I mean, that is... That's what's up right there. We got the ball back in, took the time to go ahead and clean everything out with a damp towel, and you'll see there's some little grooves right here, and that's gonna have to seat on the top of this optic board. You can see on the bottom they have the same thing. So we need to make sure that when you're putting this back together, they're nicely seated on the bottom, and then we're gonna make sure they line up with the two on the top, and then we can button it back up and put it in. All right guys, final product all buttoned up, good to go. Got all 6 of our screws back in here. Got the ground cable back on. We're gonna go ahead and remount this bad boy, and it's very important to remember, you see where it says monitor with an arrow forward, you wanna make sure that that goes up like so, because you want it to be facing, nope, you want it to go facing your monitor this way. When you lay the top back down, you want this to be facing the monitor. So let's go ahead and get it mounted. Okay, here we go. Everything is back in, set up, buttoned up. Yes, I have swapped out my buttons for LED buttons because I just can't keep my freaking hands off anything, so I constantly have to do dumb shit. But here we go, trackball mounted, and you will hear and then we're gonna go to the Megacade. So this trackball I have probably 2,000 games on, and I haven't messed with it ever, except for when I put in my LED blinky trackball. So the goal was to get my new trackball in the PGA cabinet to essentially roll nice and smooth. It's all just personal preference, man. There you go. And that is how you doctor up a new trackball. And that is all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining me once again. Please like, share, subscribe, all the stuff. Follow me for more ways to break shit, and I will see you on the next one. Let's lose.